3 things you need to know to make this video make sense. 1. This is Taylor Swift. She writes music I like to scream in my car. 2. I have tickets to see her on tour on August 9th and I am very excited, so I will be making myself a whole outfit. And 3. Today is August 3rd, so I do not have a lot of time.
Let's talk about what I do have. This black sparkly snakeskin fabric that I love, but I only have 1 yard of, and that is just not enough. So I ordered this snakeskin fabric, hoping it would match. And it does, but no, it does not. I don't think I want to sew those together. So I also got this snakeskin fabric to replace all of that, and I might have enough of it. You know what they say, if you start off in a very rocky spot, you will definitely rock later on. But don't worry, I also have some extremely stompy boots, which ideally would be glittery or covered in patches, but I needed to be stopped. If you're a fellow Swiftie, you probably know where I'm going with this. Black and snakeskin equals reputation era. This beautiful mix of power and drama and confidence and joy and love and glitter, which if that isn't my whole personality, then well, I want it to be. And so even though I considered recreating several different outfits from music videos and red carpets, I'm going to make a skirted jumpsuit inspired by these Reputation tour looks, because it looks fun to make and even better, fun to wear. I started out like I almost always do, and I made a bodice mock-up that I will absolutely be repurposing as my bodice lining, because it's not that I don't have the patience to do things twice, but I just like the feeling of progress, and somehow making a mock-up just to trash it later doesn't feel like progress to my gremlin brain. So the mock-up, it fit me pretty well on the first try. I had more than enough length at the waist, which I was worried about because I'd have to have somewhere to attach the bottom half of this jumpsuit. There was a little gaping at the throodle boodles. I decided to lower the front neckline a hair and lower the back a lot. Like, no, this is not the low back I pictured, calculated, or aimed for, but it's okay. I can fix it with scissors. I modified my pattern, seam ripped the mock-up just enough to make the changes, sewed it all back together, and absolutely loved it, so I dived right into cutting out the snakeskin pieces. I had already done a pin test because I had an inkling from the way that the snakeskin was printed that this fabric would react rather dramatically to pins, that it would never forgive, never forget, and show every little mark, and I was a little less than half wrong. It forgave a bit, but I still decided I shouldn't pin the pattern pieces down for cutting, and I should just weigh them down with whatever was small, heavy, and nearby. And I decided that my cat, who has the equivalent of 4 pawfuls of pins on him at all times, should not be involved. Once I had all 7 pieces of the bodice cut out, I started, wow, right in front of me. Once I had all 7 pieces cut out, I started clipping them together. I used these tiny, brightly colored clips because they were what I had, but I had them because I bought them because they made me happy. And they held so well, and I didn't have to worry about accidentally hurting myself on a million pins, so I was able to clip together every seam at the same time until it looked like a weird octopus, and then sew it all together. Front middle pieces to front sides, back middles to back sides, front to back at the shoulders, and then I did stitch over every seam with my serger. Totally unnecessary because I was going to line this, but I did it anyway. Things I did not sew: the back seam and the 2 side seams, because I was still flirting with putting a zipper in the back, and it's a lot easier to stitch the lining on while it's flat-ish. So I clipped the lining right on top, matching all the seams along the neckline and throodle boodles, which didn't change the shape all that much, but I'm pretty sure I'm doing it right. Then I sewed that, serged that, and realized I hadn't seen my cat in a hot minute, but there was this suspicious something happening.
Hey, are you in there? Why are you in there? Alright. No, you're not hurting anything, so have fun.
I took my now double layered bodice piece and turned it right side out. It's always nice to wear your clothes right side out. Then I flipped the side seams open. I think that's the best description. I matched the side seams up so that I could sew the lining and outer fabric together in one long seam and clip them together on both sides. Have I constructed a bodice this way before? Oh yes. Am I just as unsure about this tiny piece of flippity-floop magic on the 10th time as I was on the first time?
Okay, I think I did that right.
Yes. And it was time for the big question.
Do we put in a zipper or no? Yeah, no, we're just gonna do this because I don't want to put in a zipper. That would be a responsible thing to do. And do I look responsible? Absolutely not.
This was flipping the back seam open and clipping it shut just like the side seams, and then questioning everything again, because as previously stated, this fabric doesn't like pins. It definitely doesn't like needles. Once I sewed a seam, I mean, I could take it out again, but there would be evidence, proof of past crimes, an inextricable trail of tiny problems also known as holes. Better just, you know, do everything right the first time.
We're gonna try this on because I'm nervous.
Thankfully, somehow I did. I cut out a long rectangle for a waistband and wrapped it around myself to figure out exactly where I wanted it to meet the bodice. I measured it, memorized the number, and sewed on both a snakeskin waistband and a lining waistband. Then I tossed the bodice in the back corner and started on the bottom of my jumpsuit. I cut out the fronts and backs of a pair of flowy shorts, 4 pieces in total, and then noticed that this fabric has a very visible stripe on camera, and had to sit and think about how I wanted to cut out the skirt that was supposed to go over the shorts. In my plan, this was a full circle skirt for maximum spinning power, and the easiest way to make one of those is just to cut out a circle. When the fabric is stretchy like this, you can literally cut yourself a wearable donut. So delicious. But when the fabric is striped, the stripes won't all go the same direction once you're wearing the donut. So if you wanted them to, you have to cut pie slices, and kind of a lot of them, and then sew them into a donut. And I have no idea why sewing somehow always ends up being about food, but have you eaten today? You should probably have a snack. I am definitely talking about myself. I need a snack. Anyway, I scientifically wiggled the fabric around until I decided that I really didn't care. And then I folded my fabric in quarters and measured out a big circle. You know, it doesn't look that big here. It didn't look that big when I cut it, and I did have questions, but I liked how much fabric I had left over because that meant I could make the giant and dramatic hood I had planned. So I just distracted myself with that and cut a smaller circle to finish my donut. I clipped the back pieces of my shorts together at the middle seam, clipped the front pieces together at their middle seam, sewed them, serged them, then clipped the front and back together at the other middle seam? The bottom middle seam, we're gonna call it that. I sewed and serged that, then clipped and sewed the sides together and sewed it and serged it, mostly just to be consistent at this point. And by that I mean I could and probably should have just been serging and skipping the first machine altogether because it would have been faster and stretchier and probably twice as correct. But it also would have cut the seam allowance off before I got a chance to make sure that I did it right, and we all know I'm trying these shorts on in between each seam, right? And cutting things off, that was just too scary for me just then. Maybe I'll find the courage later. And then I had this giant pair of shorts, and believe it or not, it was all going exactly according to plan. Exactly. Other than the fact that it was now August 7th and time for bed so that I could get up early the next morning and pick up Naomi from the airport. Naomi is my sister. She's who I think of when I'm listening to Hamilton and Angelica says, "I know my sister like I know my own mind. You will never find anyone as trusting or as kind." Naomi's known me since I was 8 and she was born. I don't want to be too over the top, but I would drive through Los Angeles traffic by myself just for her, which is exactly what I did. And Naomi, she would fly all the way across the continent by herself and brave a stadium full of 75,000 people just to keep me company at this concert. I mean, she likes Taylor Swift too, but I'm gonna pretend it was just for me, even though she was excited enough about this to make her own outfit and she worked on it in advance. So she only had one thing left to do, putting grommets in, while my jumpsuit was pretty much still just a pile of pieces. I really needed to fix that. So I clipped the donut to the waistband all the way around.
That's just a dress. Now let's make it weird.
I carefully slipped the bodice and skirt inside the shorts, then clipped them all the way around as well.
This looks super secure, but you can't, there's no place to start feeding it into my serger. It's probably future one. Future one will figure it out.
Obviously, the shorts were a little big, but I just added pleating until they fit, which rhymes with cheating and felt a little like cheating, and I have some questions about the first person to make pleats and whether they were just fixing some weird mistakes they made. But I intended to do this, to keep a lot of extra fabric in the shorts and move that extra fabric exactly where I wanted, so that hopefully all of it landed in the right spots to make these super secret undercover pretending to be a skirt shorts. Hopefully.
Outfit, and there's a little gap right here, but I can start at the machine and then go slowly. Slowly is the key.
So slowly. But also, look ma, no first machine! I just went straight to my serger. And right behind me, Naomi was finishing her outfit with pointy things and hammers.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how nervous are you? No, I'm nervous. This is where either I find out that I had a really cool idea or this looks so dumb. Which one will it be?
Stay tuned, folks. Naomi finished her grommets beautifully, and after I got the skirt and shorts firmly attached, it was time to hem absolutely all of it. Between the flowy shorts and the circle skirt, there was a lot. I folded the bottom of the shorts up and clipped them at a length I was happy with, then sewed all the way around, cut off all the extra fabric on the other side of the stitches, folded it over again, and sewed that down. That was the fastest I figured I could do it, with the least amount of, oh fiddlesticks, do I even know how to use a ruler? But between both legs, it still took me about 2 hours. The sun had gone down by that point, and I really like working at night, but I'm also really bad at telling time after dark, or ever. So you better believe I was watching that clock like it was a cat, and it might jump the back garden wall and make a run for it the next time it even thought I wasn't looking.
How's it going with you?
It's going. It is, however, like 9 o'clock at night, and so my brain is you know how the GPS is like recalculating? Yeah, that's what my brain is doing right there. Made a wrong turn, looking for alternate routes, still somewhat delusionally believing I can do what I want to do. And how are you doing? Hey, look at him! He's so bald! Yeah, well, they're always bald until the end. You know, I think there's like a philosophical statement there. We all start out bald. You know, there shouldn't be pins on the floor, but I keep finding them. Oh, the carpet got a trim. Yeah, this is why most people have cutting tables. Which I keep daydreaming about, like, a sewing studio has something like a magnificent cutting table and a flower wall in the front. I give you a snake. Perfect for this. Now you can make a really long belt. Sort of. Sure, yeah. So, my goats. Oh, I was filming all that. I knew I was filming all that. Shadow puppets. Oh, those are my hands. I have to. Shadow puppets!
Circle skirts are hard to hem smoothly and quickly. I mean, you're trying to fold a perfect circle up into a smaller perfect circle. I don't even think I tried my best, but I did cut off the extra first, then folded it up once and sewed and folded it up again and sewed all the way around.
There's something kind of soothing about the like but like also and around the circle 4 times. You want to talk about that one? It went crooked.
If we were to talk about it, and you made me promise not to lie to you, I would have to admit that this hem is a mess. But it is secure, and it's not ugly on the outside. It only bothers me about 8.73%.
It's just there. That's the end of the circle. The beginning of the circle. The point at which I am eager to get to. Are you? No.
After I finished hemming the skirt, the jumpsuit was technically wearable. I technically had a complete outfit, and I could technically go to bed and get some good sleep so that I could enjoy a 5-hour concert the next day. We all know I didn't do that, right? I don't have to say it out loud.
I know. Is that your spot? Okay. Really weird though. Oh, no. We do not play with scissors, right? You know you are a little beast. You have lost fabric privileges. I'm other fun.
I pulled out an old pattern, this pattern actually, and started cutting out pieces for a little hooded jacket. I changed some things on the pattern, mostly to make the hood bigger and the sleeves longer, and I was feeling confident enough to test absolutely none of it, just as long as it all fit on the fabric I had left.
We're winning.
We're winning?
We are winning. This is a jacket. I can wear it right now.
Which alternate universe are you living in now?
This one?
Which alternate universe is it living in?
Not this one. Well, those are hood pieces, front pieces, back pieces. Those are sleeve pieces. They can be ignored until everybody else. This will need to be sewn to this. Like so. This piece will need to be sewn to this piece. We will also need to put it at the shoulders. Sometimes. It will go here, but not yet. And the sleeve will go here, but not yet.
Altogether, even with that massive hood, I only needed to cut out and sew together 8 pieces. 14 if I included a lining, which, I mean, at this time of night, I totally included a lining. Somehow, while I was thinking about cutting out the snakeskin pieces, I also mentally calculated that it would be the fastest way, and I still think I'm right. Here, just let me show you the math. It took me an extra 8.5 minutes to cut out the lining pieces. Somehow. I'm not really sure, I think I just wasn't careful. It added 4 short seams, sewing together the sides of the lining and both shoulders, and it added 6 long seams, 2 constructing the lining hood, 2 attaching the hood lining and then understitching to keep it neatly in place, then the last and longest 2 attaching the lining to the body all along the bottom edge and understitching that. I had to attach the hood to the body all along the neckline and then add the sleeves and hem the cuffs, but I would have had to do that anyway. So it cost me about an hour and 12 minutes, which does sound like a lot, especially when we're talking about all of that being after midnight, but like, come on, I'm nocturnal anyway. And it saved me the 15 extra minutes it would have taken to measure out extra seam allowance at the bottom of each pattern piece so that I could add a hem, 30 minutes carefully measuring and folding a perfect hem all around the edge, bottom, front, and massive ginormous hood, 25 minutes sewing around that whole hem, and then 15 minutes neatly folding it up a second time, and 25 minutes sewing around it again to finish it off nicely. Basic math. And I'm very confident that I did it right because somehow, either by a miracle, a magic accident, or just purely going beast mode through this whole process, I had a completed jacket by 2 in the morning. And Naomi and I were ready to run away to the concert the next day. We drove down through Los Angeles traffic, Taylor's version, and it only took us 2 hours. To get to the outside of the stadium, I mean. It took us another 30 minutes to get to our seats, but that was so much less than I was expecting, and it gave us plenty of time to get settled in, become best friends with everyone in our section, and of course, trade friendship bracelets. I spent about a week earlier in the summer making way too many bracelets with album titles and song titles and just a few really unhinged super secret messages that I could not resist. But I'm happy to say that the people we traded with couldn't resist either. And without even touching the merch lines, I have special mementos from this concert to take home with me. I love that fans collectively decided that we would do this for each other. And I should tell you right now that you'll be getting the outfit reveal later. Because despite getting to the stadium early enough to make friends and watch Gail and Haim absolutely rock as the opening acts, we took 0 videos of our full outfits. I mean, we did take videos of giddy moments and joyful moments and exuberantly unaware moments that I'm just not sure are super presentable, but I'm thrilled to have them. Like, I'm so grateful that Naomi filmed us singing Along to Long Live, which has been one of my favorite songs since I graduated from college and will forever be tangled up in some of my best memories, from late nights with close friends to adventures I never expected to have to dancing on my wedding day. And I'm also glad that I caught her knowing every word to the Bridge of Cruel Summer and that she caught me going a little feral at the beginning of the Reputation set. I should also tell you that this is not about to be a recap of the entire Eras Tour experience. I knew that I was going to be making this video, but I made the firm decision that I was not going to watch this live concert through my own phone screen. My phone was recording, but I had my eyes on the stage, so a lot of my footage has some twists and dips and drifts in it. And that's great. And my phone also had this weird habit of turning Taylor Swift into a bright, dazzling little fairy, which might be the most poetic and accurate interpretation of what I saw, but is not super watchable. Still, I do want to tell you the bright spots. So what was it like? There were clocks and sparks and wailing guitars. There was a forest that grew straight out of the stage and slithery snakes, trains and chairs and dancing kites and dancing umbrellas and flowing capes and an extravagance of flowing sleeves. A piano covered in painted flowers and a piano covered in moss and a cabin covered in moss. A stage dive, though not the kind you would expect. Lights and lights with fire and light up bicycles and light up golf clubs and snow and confetti and sparkly jackets and stompy feet and, of course,
My name is Taylor. Thank you for traveling with us at the Eras Tour. All right, so you and I, we're about to go on a little adventure together, and that adventure is going to span 17 years of music, and we're going to do this one era at a time, LA. You have also decided to attend this concert on the very last show of the American leg of the Eras Tour. And so, because of this decision you have made to attend this concert, you're gonna have to deal with my emotions. And I don't know if you've heard about this or not, but I have a lot of them.
Yes, she does. And I do too, and that has always been what made me love her music. I've been listening to her since I was 16, and I was living through 16-year-old melodramatic, all-consuming days while she was writing about them. And her lyrics made sense to me, and her experiences felt like echoes, and who doesn't shout into a dark cave hoping to hear beautiful echoes coming back to them? Back then, her songs made me feel less alone, and somehow, through a very happy twist of fate, every album that she's put out after that did the same thing for me. I know she doesn't do that for everyone, but I kind of hope that at least what I'm saying makes sense. That you're thinking of a musician or an author or a filmmaker who makes the art that keeps you company at your highs and your lows, so that you can understand just how amazing it was to be in a stadium packed full of people, all singing along at the top of their lungs to my favorite lines, screaming, "Me too! I've been there too!"
It's called the Eras Tour.
When I got home, my husband AJ asked me what my favorite part of the night was. I told him it was watching the last Great American Dynasty performance, one of my newer favorite songs, a somehow quiet story about taking delight in rebellion, with a dance number full of color and poofy dresses. It was the first thing that came to mind. I could have said almost anything from the whole night. I could have told him about this magical dance sequence in the middle of Willow, or the simple but amazing 10-minute song, or the entire Reputation set that was bombastic and brilliant, but it's obvious to me now, watching everything back, that the best part of the night was when Taylor told me I looked pretty and I looked smart.
Is there anyone here who put a lot of work, thought, and preparation into lyric memorization and or what you were gonna wear? You know, because you look cute and you look well studied.
If you know anything about the Eras Tour, you might know that Taylor has 800 million billion costume changes in it, and that she doesn't even wear the same outfits at every concert. I had been trying to keep from knowing too much about the show before I went, but I knew about the outfits, and I even had some hopes for which ones I would get to see in person. When she came out in this ball gown, I was so excited. I literally just turned to Naomi and shouted, "It's new!" And I never imagined that on the last night of the American tour, she would still have any new outfits hiding in the wings. And then the whole crowd rippled around us with a question because she was pulling a Disney Cinderella moment right in front of her eyes. Was the dress silver or was it blue? Why does that matter? Because Swifties are giant nerds. You will never convince me otherwise because they do what nerds do. Unapologetically jump up and down, love things, and find meaning in tiny, innocuous things. And the fact is, fans and Taylor have assigned colors to each album she's put out, and blue is attached to 1989, a well-loved album that she has plans to re-record and re-release, and we were just waiting for an announcement about it. And if this gown was blue, she might be hinting that an announcement was coming soon. And we all tried to play it cool. When she came out in another brand new blue dress about 20 minutes later, it got harder. There are hints and then there are hints, and then there is stacking sparkly blue dresses in front of Swifties, which she continued to do. By the time she came out in the fourth one, well, you can hear the crowd.
I just want to talk to you guys for a second about the fact that, you know, this tour, I hear so many people talking about how they wanted to come to these shows just because of you guys, and the joy, and the friendship, and the open-heartedness. Like, you're making friendship bracelets and trading them with each other. You're dancing with each other. You're making friends with the people next to you. The nicest thing in the world is how you guys have approached this tour with so much excitement. And the last time that I was so pleasantly surprised by some stuff that you guys did was when I announced that I was going to be re-recording my first album. And the way that you've embraced that, the way that you have celebrated that, it's so generous of you to care about something that I cared about. And so now here we are on the last night of the US leg of the Eras Tour in the 8th month of the year. On the 9th day, there's something that I've been planning for a really, really, really ridiculously, embarrassingly long time. And I think instead of just like telling you about it, I think I'll just sort of show you something I've been excited to show you. Taylor's version will be out October 22nd.
The best part was, well, there were a lot of best parts. Like that the announcement immediately led into the part of the show that's always different, always a surprise set of songs. And that night, they were two of my all-time favorite songs, New Romantics and New Year's Day. Like if I had gotten to handpick two songs for her to play live for me, crossing off every song that she'd already played in this massively wonderful show, I probably would have picked these two. And I don't know who else gets to say that about their surprise songs. But also, the color blue, completely out of context of Taylor Swift or any music album, is special to Naomi. It's a long story involving her favorite book and a paper she wrote in high school, and the classic English teacher habit of assigning intense meaning to the color of the curtains and the wine and the main character's eyes. But now every time there's something blue around Naomi, my family just smiles. Because as Naomi's thesis statement once said, blue is important. I'm never going to forget that flying Naomi all the way across the country somehow tricked the universe into giving us a very blue Taylor Swift concert. To everyone else who went that night, I guess you're welcome.